chapter 21. At the point of chapter 21, Ishmael is about 14 years old, or at least probably in his early teens, because we've had a gap between the birth of Ishmael and the birth of Isaac. The birth of Isaac takes place in the first 7 verses of Genesis 21. And then the text shifts in verse 8. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the same day that Isaac was weaned, and Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, scoffing. Literally, the Hebrew word, this kind of bugs me in the English. The word uses scoffing. It's almost as if the translator wants to put you on Sarah's side. Like Hagar sitting there making fun. But the Hebrew word is laughing. I mean, Sarah looks across at the party and sees Hagar laughing, and it infuriates Sarah that Hagar would be laughing. And what we did with that is we turned it into the word scoffing so that maybe Hagar's making fun. But once again, I'm not sure she gets the shake she should. So what happens out of this? Well, therefore she said to Abraham, "Cast this bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, namely with Isaac." She wants them cast out. And the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's sight because of his son. But God said to Abraham, "Do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah said to you, listen to her voice. In Isaac shall your seed be called. But I'm also going to make a nation of the son of the bondwoman because he's your seed." So Abraham rose early in the morning. He took bread and a skin of water and he put it on her shoulder, and he gave it and the boy to Hagar and sent her away. And she departed and wandered, look at this, into the wilderness of Beersheba. Another wilderness. Last time she went in, she was pregnant. Didn't even know she was pregnant until she encountered God. Now she goes in with a son. The water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down across from him at a distance about a bow shot. For she said to herself, "Don't let me see the death of the boy." So she sat opposite him, lifted her voice, and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, "What ails you, Hagar?" Here we go, God questioning her again. "Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Rise, lift up the lad, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." I want to stop there. Just want to make sure we get the story. Hagar's been kicked out because she laughed at a party. Sarah doesn't want Hagar around anymore, so both Hagar and Ishmael are cast out into the wilderness of Beersheba. Has to feel pretty familiar to Hagar, who's been in a wilderness before. But remember what she learned the last time she was in the wilderness, which is, God knows my name, God hears me, God sees me, and I see the one that sees me. And when she goes into the wilderness, she loses faith, like a lot of us do, even though we've got the equipment that we need. And she feels like, well, the only thing I can do is sit here and watch this boy die. And this is where Hagar stands. Now, what happened to Hagar the first time in the wilderness, when she saw that God saw her and God heard her, I think equips Hagar, even though she doesn't know it. And I want to emphasize that right here. Whatever wilderness you've went through has equipped you for more than you know you're capable of. You have more ability in the next wilderness than you know because of the last wilderness. You might have forgotten it. You forgot what it felt like when you went through that before. But that's strengthened you. You are better than you used to be. You have more than you think you have because you see the God that sees you. So look at verse 19. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave the lad to drink. He sees you. You see him. Now what? Now you see provision. She sees provision in a wilderness when she remembers the God who saw her. Listen, you don't have to get out of your darkness in order for God to see you. He sees you in the middle of it. You don't have to get out of your wilderness for God to hear you. He hears you in the middle of it. Whatever you learn in it, whatever situation you go through, it equips you for what you're going to go through next. And when you get to the next place, you have more than you realize. You have the strength, you have the skill, you have the wherewithal. Not because you read the right books or you did the right thing, but because of what you learned when you had your revelation of Him the first time. It's the equipment you need in this moment now. And you can Find the provision wherever you need it, even in the midst of your darkness. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Things are good when I'm a sheep and He's my shepherd. He makes me lie down in green grass and He leads me beside still waters. And He anoints my head with oil. That keeps all the flies off of me. Life is good. I have a good shepherd. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. All is well. Yea, though. Feel that turn? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He didn't lead me there. He led me beside green grass. He led me beside still waters. He led me on paths of righteousness for His name's sake. But yea, though I walk into the valley of the shadow of death, now what? You are with me. Your rod and your staff beat me half to death every day because I went down. No. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare, listen to this, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy. That's your predators. You're in the valley where the predator hunts. In the presence of my predator, He puts food for me to eat. Who do you think that is in that valley if not Hagar? With a God that sees her and hears her and prepares a table before her right in the middle of the presence of her enemies. And you go, well, I don't want to think I'm Hagar. Well, then you need to go back and wrestle again. Because sometimes that's who we are. Stuff beyond our control. And we wander into the valley of the shadow of death. And He's with us. And He prepares a table. Where? Right in front of us. Hagar's second trip into the wilderness, she was able to open her eyes and find a well. Because if God sees me and God hears me, and I see the God that sees me, He surely didn't bring me in here to die. Or even if I wandered in here, He's not going to leave me in here to die. Because He gives me a well in the midst of my darkness. Could probably go around the room tonight and hear testimonies of your wilderness experience and how God did something great smack dab in the middle of it. And that's because that's the God that sees you. Doesn't wait for you to come out the other side. I'll tell you what, I'll see you and you can see me when you get it together and come out the other side. No. He's the God who sees me where I am. You know that old song we used to sing in church, Just As I Am? Well, the beauty of the phrase, just as I am, is that He sees me just as I am. Whatever I am, He sees me and He hears me. I want you to know. I want you to know. I want whoever's listening to know. He sees you. Nobody else is paying attention to you. He's paying attention to you. And He's doing what needs done in the middle of where it needs done. Just see the God who sees you. In Jesus' name.